Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You'll get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they earn success in their careers. Along the way, we'll touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights CSIA members bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with Zack Scriven, an industrial automation engineer by trade and video content creator by heart. Zack is a video marketing entrepreneur. He is founder and lead content creator of Zack Scriven Media, a company that creates videos for education, motivation, and brand building. Zack also created Crush LinkedIn Video, an online course designed to help professionals maximize LinkedIn video. Zack, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Lisa. It's good to see you.
Absolutely. Why don't you start by taking us through your journey from a control systems engineer to starting your own video marketing business?
Okay, so I kind of grew up in the system integration field. My parents had a system integration firm focused in water distribution, water treatment. So I kind of grew up in that business. It wasn't long before, I was 17, 18, delivering full, scale PLC projects and SCADA systems and radios and automation. So I really kind of grew up in that industry. Also, at that same time, like during high school, I also had a side passion, a hobby of creating videos, using video to kind of express my personality, like kind of do some parodies and just kind of creative, but never really took it as something that I could do for a living. Fast forward a couple years, I ended up taking over my parents' business, ran that for a few years, went to go work for another few firms before finally quitting that to combine. I saw a lot of interesting things happening, particularly on LinkedIn, and using that to create a personal brand, to market. And so I really just saw it as an opportunity to kind of combine my skill set and my passion into something creative and unique and really help have a bigger impact on industrial automation industry at large.
Give us some examples of projects that you're working on or have worked on.
So I kind of have three pillars to my business. So the first pillar is kind of client services. So I work with clients to help them ideate, produce, edit, and post videos that will help them build their personal brand and their company's brand. So that's one aspect. And that really kind of helped, like when I transitioned, that really was what helped me pay the bills and got me being paid to do what I love. The second part is my own personal brand, my own personal content, it's kind of an overarching storytelling narrative, like coming up with some crazy idea, like coming to Asheville, North Carolina to do content and then actually seeing through to make that happen. Or, I went to Dubai and South Africa, like all over the world to go to conferences like this, particularly around industrial automation. So that's one aspect. I also work with brand sponsors to make those ventures possible. Something that kind of ties in with the story. Maybe it's related. Maybe they can see a value in reaching my audience and really positioning themselves as an innovative company, trying something new. So that's the second pillar. And the third pillar is I have my own podcast. It's the Zack Scriven podcast.
Are you my competition?
No. See, that's the thing. We're not competition.
No, we're colleagues.
We're collaborators. And, I actually see that as a vehicle to help work with other individuals that maybe they're not ready to hire me to help them do their marketing, but they want to get started with video. They want to tell their story. The podcast is a platform for me to share other people's stories and also consequently my own. So I find myself working with people that maybe are in a similar arc on their journey, and we can kind of share stories and that's what the podcast is. So
how often do you drop a podcast?
I try to do them about every week. So I'm on number 80 right now.
Oh, just started out. That's so aggressive. As a podcaster myself, I'm impressed with that output. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, when you do it full time,
yeah.
it's switching from having that 9 to 5 to being able to do this full time opened up so many opportunities for me to travel, for me to create more content, to get better at it, because you could just, the more you iterate, the better you get,
Absolutely. So give me an example of a piece of work that you're really proud of.
So I'm really proud of the South Africa trip that I went to in March. So that one was interesting in that there is a local distributor for Aviva Solutions, IS Cubed, Industry Software Solutions and Support. They have a annual conference. They're on number 27 this year, and it's really unique in that it's more of like a performance. It's really an experience to be able to go there. They have live performances, comedians, dancers. Like even like the final dinner, they had this show where the chefs came out and made dessert live in front of us, and like frosted powder like is flying, and like, so it's like all these interesting, unique experiences. And the goal through the vlog is to document that in a creative perspective, share that with the world. And so my goal with those videos, with those vlogs, is to, highlight a different perspective of those events and make someone truly feel like they were there, and condense down into a 5 or 10 minute video.
Sounds like an amazing experience. So switching gears a bit, it sounds like you're an entrepreneur at heart.
Yeah.
What traits do you think people need to be successful out on their own?
The biggest thing I think is you gotta have a mission that truly transcends your own existence. So,
wow,
it's
that's so meta, dude.
Well, like it's true though, because, one might think that, well, if I work for this company and they're taking my overhead and, they're charging twice what I, earn, maybe I might be better off on my own and keeping that extra. I think those ventures might be short-lived, because if it's just truly about money, or your own like personal incentives, then when it gets tough, then you might give up. But, for me, it's truly about inspiring others, using myself as, like a bit of a, guinea pig for the industry. So like, I might, forge my own trail and help others along that same path. Maybe not extreme as me, or, eccentric. But, so I think back to the point is like having a mission that just is beyond, bigger than yourself. And that'll help you fight through those ups and downs.
What do you find most challenging about owning your own business?
For me, it's mostly organizational. Like a very not organized. I'm actually very, like, a lot of my stuff is from the hip, and I don't really like, you have a script, and I've never scripted any of my podcasts. And so that for me is like my weakness, but it's also my strength. So I just try to figure out how can I use my lack of structure to be creative, but at the same time, make sure that each month I'm delivering my deliverables. Bills are getting paid, income's coming in, looking at, hiring my first video editor. So like, those are things that are stepping outside of my comfort zone. And, but for me, the biggest struggle is that organizational aspect, because as a creator, I'm very creative. I don't like to be, like tied down, or, like a lot of my sponsors, it's just, I don't really have a set list of deliverables. They just kind of give me that creative freedom to create the way that I want. And usually that works, but that doesn't work for everyone. So it's trying to find that balance of like complete chaos and complete structure.
Yeah. But the good news on that is the organization bit is easy to outsource, right?
Yeah.
You can find lots of people who are organized and will keep a schedule and keep you on track or whatever.
Yeah,
That's easy to outsource.
Do you want to connect with the best in the business? Then the CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange is for you. With thousands of systems integrators and suppliers, the exchange is the one-stop spot for end users, suppliers, and integrators to connect and do business. Whether you are an end user looking for qualified system integration or suppliers, or an integrator or supplier trying to reach customers, the CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange is the place to be. See for yourself at www.csiaexchange.com.
So switching gears yet again, we hear a lot about millennials, and often it's not very complimentary. Do you think the stereotypes of the younger generation, your generation really, ring true?
Oh, absolutely. So I think the thing that needs to follow that, though, is there's also a lot of positive traits. And I think what leaders need to recognize when dealing with those millennials is to focus on those strengths and not necessarily like get stuck on the issues. Millennials are told like since the day we were born that like we could be president, we can change the world. And a lot of, we believe that, and that's a strength, but it's also a weakness. And, like some of the negative points, like we may come off as entitled or, et cetera. But I think that that's really where leaders have the opportunity to hone in on that desire to make a change, that desire to make a difference, to, I guess kind of not necessarily control millennials, but like keep them within the rails against a bigger mission that they can feel like they're truly having an impact towards.
So at the same time, we hear so much that companies are struggling to attract and retain talent. Why do you think that is, and how could companies solve for that?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is having values-based organizations beyond just making a profit, and also having a mission that is tangible, that people can buy into. So like Airbnb kind of comes to mind of a truly mission-based organization, like helping empower homeowners and travelers to connect, right? As opposed to just, like being the best in the world is not really a measurable goal that people can get behind. I think being, like one of my clients, their mission is to save and create middle-class jobs in the United States through revitalizing manufacturing, making manufacturers more competitive. Like that's something that you can actually buy into, because you can see the impact that manufacturing jobs have on local communities, and like what the outsourcing of manufacturing did like in the 80s and 90s. So to actually have that like as your life's mission, you can actually get people that buy into that same mission and truly have an impact. Also, it'd be silly to talk about this without mentioning money. So it's not all about money. I think you'll find that people will be willing to work for less if they truly do have a mission that they're bought into themselves. But also, like, that's not an excuse to underpay. I think you can be both competitive in pay and also have a mission that's beyond just turning a profit.
So help me understand why you think maybe organizations are struggling to attract talent. Is it because it's just not glamorous, or are we not telling our story properly?
Yeah. There's a lot of options out there. The economy is doing really well. There's a lot of new jobs. The gig economy is, I think, a big portion of that. A lot of engineers are maybe finding alternatives where they can work on online platforms and have more flexibility. But I think, going back to that mission, having a being part of a group where the collective mission is something bigger than yourselves is going to be key in retaining that top talent, as well as transparency. So a lot of business practices have kind of, through momentum, carried into from the past where, like these business practices are before the internet. Like, for example, salary, lack of transparency on salary. That was a huge one back in the day where you just kind of kept everything private. So that way you could basically get away with paying someone less than their market value. With the internet and things like Glassdoor and, those things aren't going to exist anymore. So people are really people don't mind if their manager makes more, but they want to actually see a tie between the contribution to the mission and someone's pay. And so I think transparency is really the best way to retain that top talent, because I think one of the biggest reasons people do leave is they might get an offer somewhere else to make more money. And I don't think that's a great idea to leave on that alone, but I think, being in a spot where you do feel like you're underpaid does make that more enticing. Mm-hmm.
So speaking of the next generation, what's in store for Zack 2.0? Or are we on 3.0, 4.0? Where are we?
Humans 2.0. Oh, wow. I still feel like it's very early in my transition. So the way
that sounds a little weird.
it does sound weird, but I actually think I have a very deep perspective on this. So really, we're going through the digital transformation of industry. We see that all the time in the stuff that we talk about. But less people focus on the digital transformation of self or the digital transformation of leadership. So like through this podcast, these are digital waves going into someone's ears, or through video, it's, digital signals coming into their retina. the stuff that we did not have 20 years ago, like being able to just pull out your phone and create a video, hit send, and reach thousands or millions of people. It's very much like a one-to-many relationship, just like having a digital document. You don't need to print a million copies. You could have that digital document. Everyone can have the same source of truth. You can iterate faster, like look at online learning. So truly, I am in a process of transforming. I know it kind of sounds like I'm uploading my content.
Yeah, we are bored.
But we are truly like, each thing that I say on video, it is kind of uploading to the cloud in a way that is very much my personality. And it's a digital twin of myself. So I'd say it's still very early, maybe Zack 1.1.
We're recording this podcast during the CSIA executive conference, which is why it's probably a little noisy in the background for folks. Is this your first time here, and what are you most looking forward to experiencing?
This is my first time here. I'm very excited to be here.
Welcome.
And I'm most looking forward to meeting with other system integrators and seeing how I can help them transform their marketing and their messaging. Maybe I want to start seeing more system integrators adopting some of the practices that I've been employing with my clients, whether that's them as a client myself, or maybe that's them taking a course that I developed so I can amplify. I can help a lot more people through a digital course than I can one-on-one. So that's another theme of that digital transformation, right? Mm-hmm. But really just maybe in getting feedback from them, maybe why haven't they started looking at video to get their messaging out, and seeing kind of where the industry is and what their feedback is on my own journey and just networking.
I think the stereotype of engineers is that they are very skeptical of marketing.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I used to be anti-marketing, anti-sales. I think it didn't serve me well. Mm-hmm. I think truly embracing it, it was a flip of a switch. I did have to kind of come to love marketing. But I think, a lot of marketers and sales people in the past may have given it left a bad taste in someone's mouth. But I think that's why like authenticity, transparency, when you combine that with marketing, like people really see me being authentic on my videos. Like they trust when I am working with a brand that I actually believe in that brand myself and that I'm not just doing it to get paid. Mm-hmm. So when you combine authenticity, transparency with video, I think people will really like they get over that like that fear of like, oh, I don't really trust what you're saying because I think you're trying to sell me something. If you can kind of connect with someone on a deeper level, a human level, where it's just, like we're talking right now, just person to person. I think that's where they can really start to see the value of marketing and branding and sales.
So if a system integrator was sort of interested in dipping his or her toes into this marketing water, right, what advice would you give them?
I would start by telling their story. I think there's a lot of stories that are maybe left for the fireside, but there's no reason that those can't be shared because it might help other system integrators. And I think that's one of the things that I've always kind of disliked about the industry is that everyone kind of keeps to themselves. It's kind of very competitive in that regard. And I do see that starting to change with more community and more collaborating. Life is not a zero-sum game, so you can help someone else out. I think that's actually the easiest way to success is helping other people reach success. So I think sharing their story, how they started their company, maybe they had a failure on a project. I know that's something that you guys talk about at the CSIA is sharing some failures.
But they always have a happy ending.
Yes. Well, I think that's true, but I don't think it always needs to be a happy ending. I think a lot of the fear of people coming on camera is they try to feel like they have to know everything, and that showing what they don't know. Like if I go on camera, then someone might see that I'm really specialized maybe in PLC, but my SCADA skills are not as strong. They see it as a weakness, but I see vulnerability as a strength. And then you'll actually connect with someone more. And, not everyone knows everything, right? That's why we work together. So I'd say I'd start with, maybe just even their phone and just sharing like a weekly video about like what's happening in their business and just kind of opening that up for sharing. And I think it'll create a really big impact.
Final words for our listeners.
Oh man, thank you guys so much for listening. You guys are all awesome. Lisa, thank you for having me on. It's really awesome to be here. as a representative of the media, new media, alternative media, but also just, here on the podcast, it is, it's a sign of my own progress and journey and giving that little bit of, validation back to myself that I am doing something that is, truly trying to help the industry and people are seeing that, and that does feel good. So
Where should people go if they want to learn more about you?
They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Zack Scriven, Z-A-C-K, Scriven, rhymes with driven, or my YouTube channel, Zack Scriven Media, or my website, zackscriven.com. That's where you can also find my podcast. So
you're there.
I'm everywhere.
Google it, right?
Yeah.
So that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Zack, for joining me today.
Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also help others find us by sharing your favorite episodes with colleagues. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com for the music bumpers. Until next time.